cases and examples we have seen it, it was more biased on it by ism and other things. Whereas problem is to be solved without isms. There are problems which has to be addressed without ism. Like working in forest policy, we were working with the government. And the foresters want tribal to be not written into the forest policy. That word they don't want to be written into the forest policy. But it is we have to pursue it. There are 30% of the population in the forest areas, and their claim starts as a primary stakeholder. They have a very strong claim. You cannot nullify them, and that's how the debate and biodiversity access and everything can be defended. But I knew of the base document which was made in 2018. It was prepared by my institution, and literally the human and animal, the tribal interface. If you read the forest policy, number 10 strategy, it's been deleted then. So we worked out to get a back on the policy. So it's a struggle. It's not that because policy makers, government policies do it. So basically, department has to reorient, and it has a very strong place. And the evidences you collect, like sir was talking about micro evidences. Micro evidences get cumulatively made into a macro evidence, and that can be put for a policy solution. We need not do macro studies, but like one is doing in Andhra Pradesh, one is doing in Telangana, one is in Tamil Nadu, and they all accumulate and give a symbolic solutions to a problem. And when that is given to the policy makers, they realize. And best case of policy is my institution. Government is investing 30 crores for a culture. If it was not important to them, they should not have made this institution. So they have invested 30 crores per annum for conserving and preserving anthropology. And so that's why it's very important, and whatever we are doing, we try to see that best of communities things are addressed. And Sir has been playing a very critical role in anthropology, public policy from Anthropological Survey of India. The subject is required, the communication, the network, and the languages need to be improved. That's what my suggestion.
Thank you, Amitabh. I think very valuable points. We will come back to those points again. Let's complete one round at least. I think, Sunita, you have been working on applied medical anthropology for quite some time now and trying to contribute to health policy programs. And more particularly focused on the healers and their possible role in the healthcare, community participation in healthcare and patients. Kindly, all the research that you have made, what is your take on research and contribution to health policy?
Thank you, sir. So when I did medical anthropology and joined JNU, and it's a interdisciplinary department, social medicine, community health, where there are doctors, they first asked me to unlearn anthropology and learn public health. That I did for a while. Then I realized I'm falling in between. Neither I'm towards doctors nor I'm getting away from anthropology. And then when I offered this course on application of anthropology in health, I realized that most of them are teaching research by anthropologists, medical anthropologists. So Kleinman, Robert Hahn, Nancy Skepper, Boehm, they're all anthropologists, Paul Farmer, and they have significantly contributed to public health. So they don't want to name anthropology, and all the contributions are coming from medical anthropologists. So what I realized, the gap is that we, in India, like anthropologists are sidelined. Every bit and pieces is taken away by different subjects, whether it's sociology, economics, market research, cultural studies, development studies, and liberal arts. So they have taken away bits and pieces of our discipline, and we are not really putting our foot front and then also trying to make it visible. So I have a couple of points to share on that. If you permit me in the second round, I will, otherwise I'll keep on continuing. Yeah, so I'll come.
I think I'll help to Dr. Jesuratnam for this. Jesuratnam garu, I know that the way sociology and anthropology distinguished in terms of how close are anthropologists with the have-nots and powerless people, and how sociologists approach the subject from has specifically contributed to the policy and programs of the marginalized and the weaker sections of the society, and specifically in English office?
Thank you, sir. Yeah. As we know that anthropology, sociology, always we are in different dimensions, I feel. As the origins of anthropology states that we are more concerned with simple societies, small scale societies we have been studying, and we have been developing our own theories and concepts. However, the wider spectrum of human society, we never concentrated earlier. And particularly the complex societies and like the industrial societies, agriculture societies, our role is very low. And in that way, we are more confined to the aboriginals and in context we say tribals and so on. In that way, our contribution towards the policy has been very much limited. While sociologists and economists and other disciplines, they have very broad and wider theoretical frames to address the day-to-day issues. Whereas anthropology is lacking in that way. Always we think about the emic, the native, the what culture specific and so on. For the governance, all these things are not so important. Rather, they have a common a plan to address the issues. In that way, though we always say that it requires so much of diversity is there, so much of variance is there, therefore we cannot have a common goal program as such. In that way, the sociologists are overtaking us. They take many things what an anthropologist have been doing. And most of the popular sociologists in India, they are practical anthropologists, but functionally they are different. So in that way, they have a better chance of contributing to the issues rather than anthropologists. So in that way, we have to, of course, nowadays we are doing that. We are coming out of our closed, narrow shell, and now we are working on rather complex societies and also the pressing issues of the societies. Still, we are yet to get that accessibility with the people in governance. And nowadays we have most of our anthropologists entering into the field of governance and administration. They should give more and a better picture of anthropology rather than the picture of their own self. And this is one of the drawbacks of anthropology. Anthropologists were there in planning commissions over the years, ages. But it is Professor so-and-so. What about anthropology? It's nothing. So, this kind of, what we say, our narrowness should be overcome so that we can also equally contribute with this.
Yeah, please come back. I think I will now go to our NGO representative here. He working in the area of education for quite some time. How do you think anthropology can contribute to the NGO sector in terms of your programs?
Yes. Thank you very much, sir. You are all experts. Basically, I am from very typical rural development background. I'm representing Balraksha Bharat, an NGO called Save the Children. And I'll take one point from the language, anthropology language. More or less, I think NGO language also similar to anthropology language, because we'll also face a lot of challenges. We also will also challenge the data. We also challenge a lot of things. But generally, initially, we have as a part of our projects, we'll do studies, assessments. We'll also present the data, how really practice, how it is happening, and generally what is the challenge and what are the difference between the data and the practical situation. So keeping all these challenges, what we have done, we have started action research methodology. So there we got little success. However, then generally, NGO generally they'll make models. If you make any model, maybe 100 schools, 50 schools, or any education, generally, no, we have thousands of schools. It's very difficult to manage this model or replicate this model. So then we started the theory called theory of change. So because theory of change, then definitely seeing is believing, right? But anthropology, making a lot of studies, assessments, a lot of findings, we also give recommendations. And generally, what I am observing nowadays, each department, even though having experts, having very specialists, they are hiring people from different departments. But there is no link between the department requirements or needs, the ideas given by the separate team from people. That's a mismatch, actually. So why, when we started this theory of change, some areas we really got appreciation but however, there is a tagline, no cost, low cost, high impact. That is the policy we follow generally. But if you, I'll take on STEM education. For example, United Way is doing STEM education, STEM laboratories they established. That is the need of the hour, because we need to empower the children on science, technology, engineering, mathematics, where it's a major demand of new education policy. So where where I'm seeing anthropology definitely as a different department, really their intention they're working, but we need to look at the practical approaches. And also we need to connect with the community and anthropology concepts. Because they need to vet, or they need to maybe experiment and create an experience, practical experience. So that's maybe a mismatch. And if you take the example of education, for example, I'll quote on an example. We have done a study on MIS. DICE data, every general department will release the DICE data. We have made a study, very intensive study. We have hired we have associated with very strong and very eminent research institute for making study on MIS, DICE data. But we have find a lot of the findings and challenges while presenting, but we said, no, these are all not proper findings. So these are the challenges where we look at, but education projects, we are creating models, we are advocating to replicate if it is no cost or low cost. So that way we need to create some kind of a room for experimentation, to give some seeing is believing kind of examples we need to give to the government. And definitely each department or policy makers has to have strong association with universities, research organizations. Then only they'll get a feel of how it is happening in the field. That is the actual mismatch, what is my feeling. Thank you very much, sir.
Great. You're talking about a gap in university research, NGO requirements, and also policy, government requirements also. Okay, I think finally I'll go to the senior most anthropologist of this group, Professor Saha, sir. You were very critical of anthropological research this morning, and you were saying that no fundamental research, no great thinking, and no contribution from the Indian scholars to anthropological theory. Yes, and you are also talking about your own kind of anthropology also, right? Now, even that kind of understanding of research that is happening in Indian universities and also maybe research organizations like ANSI and others. What is your take on actually teaching and research in the area of applied anthropology? Because applied anthropology, development anthropology may not support so much your theory building process.
Thank you very much. Well, I listened to everyone, and for the last 2 days, we have been churning our mind and discussing all these issues only. But you said that I've been very critical of applied anthropology and a lot of other things also you said. But applied anthropology, yes, I still believe that applied anthropology has very much relegated the fundamental researches in anthropology during the last several decades. In applied anthropology, anthropologists apply for projects to do some applied and actual research. With this also, I have certain reservations. I have no hesitation to say, in my entire anthropological career of the last more than 45 years, I have not done any project. But not because I could not, but because I did not. This is one thing very clear. Not that I could not do any project, but I did not. Because in our times, not today, I had a very bad, or rather negative view, because I saw, I would not like to name because some of them are no more today, but they carried a number of projects, and I tried to understand that what is the ultimate contribution of such things, such scholars, because contribution, in my opinion, you've asked me, I've said a lot of things today very, very emphatically, and again I'm saying, the contributions of an anthropologist, in my opinion, does not depend upon the position that he holds, any position that he holds, but the contribution, I consider, that what he writes for the posterity, what he leaves in writing to the posterity, that is what, in my opinion, is a real contribution. In this very context, I am reminded of one of my very favorite anthropologists, Framboise. Framboise, when he was retiring, after 50 years, he started Columbia University with 2 rooms at his disposal. And when he was retiring, in those days, sometime in the 1950s, probably he was retiring early 50s, Columbia University happens to be one of the biggest universities in the world. And everybody knows that maximum number of professionally acclaimed anthropologists, internationally acclaimed anthropologists, were all during the 1950s and 60s, up to 70s also, the students of Framboise only. And therefore he was said to be the father, the hero, and the guru of American anthropologists. You know, when somebody asked him at the time of his retirement that you started the discipline anthropology here with 2 rooms only at your disposal. Now when you are retiring, this is supposed to be the biggest department of anthropology. How do you feel? His reply was very inspiring. He said, building does not constitute university. That means it is the research, quality research, that counts, and that is the main function of any university department and all. Well, I'll be very short. I will give you the. But then, I listened to Professor Henry also very nicely. He has said the survival of anthropology. Survival of anthropology. Professor Sunita also said, perhaps, as I heard, anthropology is anthropologists are sidelined, something like this you said. It's true. But survival anthropology will survive always. Always. Because without quoting, I say, anthropological questions are timeless. Anthropological questions are timeless because they are centered around the very existence of human being and human behavior. As long as mankind survives, anthropology will also survive. Another scholar says that anthropology began whenever man began to think about the difference between himself and the others, or his neighbors. So this difference, right from the beginning, it has been involved. And ever since man's appearance on earth, this is being done. So, of course, university teaching and institutionalized anthropological teaching is a different thing, but anthropology will survive as long as human beings survive. Well, I don't want to take any more time, but I can respond to any question if I am asked. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I think with very relevant points about undertaking projects and the relevance of projects also. Very good. I think my friend Gregory is laughing at me because he knows that I have done good number of projects. Each of those projects has contributed to the policy and program. I will not go into the details of my reports now because this is not the place I should be doing it. So I'm happy that I have contributed to the policy, RNDCP, Rise Process programs, and also the recent community participation. No, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that it's not that projects have no relevance. Yeah, we'll come back to that. I think the organizers will not give me